Ladies and gentlemen, patriots of America, listen up, because what we're seeing in New York City is a classic example of failed liberal leadership at its finest. For years, politicians on the left have been telling us that more laws, more restrictions, and more bureaucracy will somehow keep us safe. Yet here we are, after confiscating 22,000 guns off the streets, and still, criminals and gangs are running wild. Why? Because the real problem isn't law-abiding citizens. The problem is the revolving-door justice system and soft-on crime, policies that Democrats keep pushing down our throats. This isn't just about New York, folks. This is about what happens when you strip power away from police officers, when you destroy gang databases, when you make it easier for repeat offenders to walk free. Families are left grieving, communities are left vulnerable, and criminals are laughing in the faces of the so-called lawmakers who claim to care.
Really personifies why I have been so focused on illegal guns on our streets. And lawmakers back on the state level must catch up with this pursuit. You remove 22,000 illegal guns off our streets, and there's an endless flow in our city that individuals can shoot a nightclub patrons with several different bullets used. It appears as though there were several guns involved, and we're going to need New Yorkers to assist. Someone saw something, someone knows who was inside that night, and we're going to need the support to bring them to justice. Because if they remain on the streets, the act of violence will remain on the streets. And we have reason to believe that gangs were involved, and that is why we have been focusing with the district attorneys to really take down illegal guns. Over half of the shootings we have in the city involve those who carry or those who are part of gangs. That is one of our most important focus. So when the city council wants to take away gang databases, they hurt us. When we have a revolving door criminal justice system that allow people who carry guns to come back out on the street, they hurt us. We pass legislation that ties up police officers from doing their job, they hurt us. And they need to be here at this crime scene to see how the actions that happen in their legislative chambers impacts the lives of people on the street. Yes, and that's why I spoke with the 18 Mitchell for Man Up and our crisis management partners, important, and our teams have been mobilized to the hospitals, Brookdale, Mamani's, and the other participating hospitals where families are, to go about attempting to alleviate, if not eradicate, any retaliatory shooting. That is a real concern because it could follow a gang-related shooting or any shooting. Every morning we meet with a group called HIDA. It includes city, state, and federal law enforcement entities. Prosecutors are there, our partners, they're also in the room. We are already collaborating. But there is a place the federal government can help us. They can stop the flow of guns into our city. We don't manufacture guns. We've done a great job in taking off the streets over 22,000 guns. So there's obvious to us there's a steady flow of guns. So that's the partnership we want to really examine. How do we do more with HIDA and our federal partners to stop the flow of guns on our streets? And so I could easily talk about the lowest number of shootings in the last 7 months and shooting victims. I can talk about that, but that is no consolation to this family. And so partnerships on the federal level, I believe those partnerships are important. We're doing that every morning at 10 a.m. with HIDA. But I think there's more our federal partners can do to stop the flow of guns in New York City. No. And after something like this happens, you want to give the family and the victims an opportunity to grieve then you reach out. Our crisis management team, Pastor Rose from my faith office, they are giving the family the assistance that they need. But you really want to give them that opportunity. So it's a shock to be the victim of a shooting, and it compounds when you lose a loved one. So we're going to be using all of our services through our faith-based community and through our crisis management team to give them the services. And as I stated, they're at the hospitals now, speaking to the family members, finding out what they need. We have a victim service apparatus that's in place. It's going to be there to help those who need funeral arrangements and any other support that they need. So there's a full body of people that are going to be there to assist with that. Well, at this point, the investigation is ongoing. We're going to find out what actions they did to contribute to this. We're going to find out were any searches in place, and we're going to allow everyone from the building department to the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, to the police department, all to come together to determine what should be the next step.
Now let's break it down. The city brags about pulling thousands of guns off the streets, yet the flow of illegal firearms never stops. Why? Because instead of shutting down the gangs and enforcing the laws we already have, the system is busy tying the hands of law enforcement with red tape. Over half of New York's shootings are tied to gangs, but instead of cracking down, the city council wants to get rid of the tools that actually help identify and stop these thugs. That's insanity. And what happens after these tragedies? Crisis. Teams, faith leaders, and community services are sent in to pick up the pieces. And while that's important, let's be real, that doesn't prevent the next shooting. That doesn't stop the endless cycle of violence. You don't need another task force meeting or another federal partnership to understand the obvious. Criminals don't care about gun laws, they care about opportunity. And weak leadership gives them exactly that. What's worse is the blame game. New York politicians point at the federal government, saying the feds need to stop the flow of guns. But let's be honest, guns don't magically walk into New York. They're smuggled, trafficked, and bought on the black market. And the same politicians crying about gun violence are the ones creating sanctuary policies and loopholes that empower criminals. They refuse to enforce the laws we already have while demanding more federal control. That's hypocrisy, plain and simple. Here's the truth, America. This isn't about keeping communities safe. It's about controlling law-abiding citizens, while ignoring the real problem, gangs, repeat offenders, and a failed justice system. The left wants to make it look like they're doing something, but in reality, their policies are destroying lives. We need leadership that respects law. Enforcement cracks down on gangs and restores order. We need to protect families, not criminals. And most importantly, we need to remind these lawmakers that America was built on freedom, responsibility, and accountability. Not excuses, not endless bureaucracy, and definitely not failed liberal. Experiments. Patriots, stay alert, stay strong, and never let them take away your rights while criminals run free. This is your country. Let's fight for it.